I've written an essay titled Silence is Violence, Shout the Violent. Some who've experienced traumatic abuse become students of human psychology. I am one such person. And what I'm witnessing with these peaceful protesting rioters is nothing short of abuse. Impeding your travel is abusive. Think of a domineering husband stopping his wife in the doorway as she tries to escape the beating she knows is going to come. Think of a domineering parent doing the same with a frightened child. The only lesson ever taught from such an action is, I will be obeyed. Most of us have learned the golden rule of treating others as we would like to be treated. In other words, if you want to be loved and respected, then you gotta be loving and respectful. Stopping traffic in the streets is not loving and respectful. Harassing diners enjoying the rare treat of a night out in these times of strict lockdowns is not loving and respectful. Forming a screaming mob around one person and demanding they obey and put their fist up in recognition of the mob and or the mob's cause is not loving and respectful. Burning down city streets, sectioning off autonomous zones on public-owned property and or private property in denial of public-funded services and throwing Molotov cocktails at a police force hired by the wider public to protect and serve the community is not loving and respectful. It's instead a demand to be loved and respected, if one's only understanding of love and respect is the power and domination of obey. If I stand in front of a car and refuse to allow its driver to pass until I get acknowledged and get my way, what am I really telling the driver of that vehicle? I'm telling them that I don't give a shit about them. I don't give a damn where they gotta be or what they gotta do. I have no regard for them or their time. I don't care if they're gonna lose their job for being late. I don't care if they have a loved one in the hospital they're rushing to see. I don't care if they have a kid waiting for them to come home or to pick them up. I don't even care if I'm scaring the shit out of them in my demand for compliance. I'm telling that driver, I don't give a damn about you. This is about me and what I want. And I will be seen. And you will obey. In fact, the goal is to terrify people in what amounts to rule by fear. These mobs don't want to be loved and respected. They want to be feared and obeyed, which is exactly what we see with wife beaters and child abusers. Is it any wonder so many of the handful arrested from these mobs have an arrest record history of domestic violence and child abuse? Self-respecting and self-loving people do not want to put anyone else on their knees. In fact, they're repulsed by the very thought. Having another bow and grovel and worshipful idolization is disgusting to the self-respecting person. Think of big movie stars unlike Alyssa Milano. Think of Harrison Ford. He's repulsed by idolatry mobs who turn ordinary people who've been extraordinarily successful at playing pretend for a living into actual gods. Imagine dating someone who thought so little of themselves that they did nothing but bow and worship you. They cut locks of your hair while you slept for their fun little closet altar with accompanying photos of nothing but you. They stalked your every move, always wanted to eat wherever you wanted to eat, always want to watch whatever you want to watch. They have no sense of self. You are their whole sense of self, and your time and attention dictates their entire self-esteem. The narcissist may think that sounds pretty great, but the self-respecting person would be absolutely repulsed. The difference between the two is that the narcissist will happily stand on the broken backs of others if it means even temporarily lifting oneself up. The narcissist is a hollow shell of a human being that vampirically feeds on external validation. A relationship with a narcissist is a constant dance around a self-obsessed and fragile ego that has no capacity for compassion and finds its self-worth in the constant praise and obedience of everyone else. The narcissist is uninterested in what they can do for themselves. They need you to do for them, and a nonstop game of self-victimization that keeps you dancing and shouting how high when they command jump. For in the narcissist's mind, you are the problem, and you will always be the problem. Therefore, your action or inaction is always their solution, in what amounts to a total absence of self-reflection, self-awareness, and the resulting self-accountability. You can never know the pain they've known. You can never know the struggle they've had as they turn self-victimization into a competition, which will always see the narcissist as the victor. With groups like Antifa and BLM, we're witnessing what happens when narcissists come together and form into a collective mob that shouts, "Silence is violence," while totally ignoring their own screams and shouts that constantly accompany their own violent acts. In reality, what they're saying is that we hate you. We think you're a piece of shit and are going to treat you like that until you bend to our will and do as we command. You're a racist and a sexist until we say you're not, as governed by our dictates, which basically justifies us doing anything we want to do to you, as we stretch our definitions of what makes you subhuman in our morally and intellectually superior eyes. Suddenly, if you refuse to take a knee, then you're a subhuman racist. If you refuse to put your fist up, then you're a subhuman racist. If you refuse to allow your personal property to be confiscated and or destroyed, then you're a subhuman bigot. This while everything the narcissistic and self-entitled mob does is baptized in the holy waters of intellectual and moral supremacy. Suddenly looting is justified because the starving who's pulled up to Macy's in a rented U-Haul can't afford bread. Terrorizing neighborhoods and city streets becomes peaceful protesting. You're just the asshole that hates peace and would seek to keep the starving disenfranchised from scoring a little bread by proxy of Nike. There are no words for how dangerous this is. Make no mistake, this uncompromising mentality is what's behind every mass genocide human history has witnessed. As I write these words, cops are being portrayed as the devil. It doesn't matter if they're individually black or white, gay or straight, Christian or atheist, Republican or Democrat, male or female, or whatever odd combination in between. The badge they represent is the devil, which justifies Molotov cocktails. There's no room for context and nuance in the narcissistic mind that simply wants what it wants, and to hell with everything and everyone else. This is also why we get a wild pack of white kids shouting Black Lives Matter in the face of dissenting black people, like YouTuber Bevelyn Beatty, as they actually argue they're more black than she is. In their minds, Bevelyn Beatty, as a lover of America and supporter of Trump and funding the police, is a construct of the white man and the white man's institutions. This makes her whiter than their actual whiteness. We have to understand the narcissist's world is one of self-benefit, which will constantly change definitions to meet its own needs. Suddenly, Bevelyn Beatty, though black, is a product of white privilege in her conformity and love of the white man's ways. Capitalism, American nationalism, and all things Western civilization are conveniently dubbed white man's ways by Marxists that selectively failed to see Karl Marx was as fair-skinned as me. Welcome to the world of 2 + 2 = 5, as created by the math is sexist mental gymnastics of those who just want what they want, and will create any definition and any means to bring about that end, and have absolutely no regard for the fact that they're pointing a gun to your head while commanding your silence is violence.